Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Stand on Guard. I'm your host, David Krayden. Welcome. It's August 29th, 2024, the dying days of August. When we come back, Trudeau's going bonkers again, blaming Pierre Poilievre for everything he has failed to do and all the things he's doing wrong for Canada. When we come back, more about that. So we are in a very precarious position. We need political change, but we also need to resolve to resist. Yes, please smash that like button. It helps us to beat the YouTube censorship suppression. Yesterday, believe it or not, YouTube wanted to demonetize that episode yesterday over one word. Apparently, one word. I never really found out why, but no, it wasn't anything horrible. Wasn't anything racist. We never use language like that on this broadcast. It wasn't anything profane. You rarely ever hear me use anything worse than damn on this show or BS. But I had to fight all day to get the show back on monetization. It's just incredible what they're doing right now because we're getting closer to that U.S. presidential election. They're clamping down on everything. So please like the station and subscribe if you can, because it is so appreciated and helps a small station like this become a larger one. And if you have to resubscribe, please do so. I just want to show you this video again. I showed you yesterday to highlight what we're doing in the store.
The alternative is really cold and cruel and small.
And here's what I really want to say. This is going to be the classic. Okay? This is the one I really, really hope everybody out there. This is the preamble to the Canadian Bill of Rights, authored by Prime Minister John Diefenbaker. Yeah, Dief had his failings, Dief had his faults in some areas, but he was a proud Canadian and he believed in basic fundamental freedoms, unlike Justin Trudeau and a lot of people today in politics who don't believe in freedom of speech. This shirt should resonate with all of you viewers because this is about freedom to speak freely. That is something we're losing. In the United States, the First Amendment is freedom of speech. In Canada, the Charter of Rights guarantees us freedom of speech. Justin Trudeau is denying us freedom of speech every day, and he's done it with his trilogy of internet censorship, the third piece of which will be back before us in the fall when Parliament resumes, called the Online Harms Act. And I know so many of you out there are as worried as I am about it, but don't be fearful. We know we can fear not when we put our trust in the Most High. I will say that. Because I am not going to fear the Trudeau government. I'm going to fight the Trudeau government. I'm going to identify its failings, but I'm not going to fear it. So anyway, have a look at that shirt in our store. You can see it in the merchandise. The store is in the description. And it's right on top of the page. When you look at the Krayden's Right channel, you can look for store and have a look at the merchandise. Thank you. And I'm sorry for taking up your time with this this morning. Sometimes you got to be a bit of a salesman. But Trudeau's talking to a labor union group yesterday in Manitoba. And this is a fascinating, because remember how he was, he's starting to at least try to do the Bill Clinton act of, I feel your pain. I feel your pain. He hasn't said that yet. Watch him. He might. But he totally forgot to be repentant, to be contrite, to ask for forgiveness for his idiocy and his failings. So he's talking to these union members yesterday in Manitoba. And it's all Poilievre. Poilievre wants chaos. Poilievre wants to divide Canadians. No, I'm sorry, Justin. You're the one who wants chaos. You created chaos. We live in chaos. Stop lying about how we're the number one in the G7 debt per ratio. BS. Stop lying about how the economy is doing so well in Canada. BS. We're last, dead last in the G7. Those are the facts. You don't tell us the facts. But here's Justin telling us all about how he's for the working man. And I've got some clips later to show you about just how much Justin Trudeau supports working class Canadians or ordinary Canadians. He doesn't know who they are.
Ahead on national pharmacare, making insulin free for every Canadian who needs it, and providing free prescription contraceptives because we not only believe in a woman's right to choose, we act on it.
So this is why he's running again next year, because he's providing free birth control. This is just groundbreaking. This man is nuts.
As of last week, our Canadian dental care plan has already helped over 500,000 previously uninsured Canadians get the dental services and dental care they deserve. And we've been able to do all this because we've been responsible with taxpayer dollars, delivering the...
Ha! Now, did you get that? He's been responsible with taxpaying. He has increased the debt more than any other prime minister. He just had another deficit budget this year, $52.9 billion in new spending, adding $40 billion more to the debt. Now, how is that being responsible with taxpayers' money? He has squandered taxpayer money. This man is just completely oblivious to his own failings.
The lowest deficit amongst advanced industrialized nations and the lowest net government debt in the G7.
Lie.
These are important victories for Canadians, for the middle class, for working people. And they were made possible by all of you. But union leaders, like all of you here today, also know that these programs can be cut, protections unraveled, and progress undone. Et vous savez qu'il y a toujours eu un parti pour pousser cette austérité, le Parti conservateur du Canada.
The Conservatives are going to wreck all of it.
I don't need to remind you of the Harper years. You know that those were dark days.
Projection again. I'm sorry, what was so dark about the Harper years? You remember when Harper had a foreign policy focused on trade deals with people in the world, not starting wars, not joining wars around the world, not trying to force people to have abortions around the world? Harper was focused on trade deals. Sounds like a pretty good time, actually. And it's a hell of a better time than we're going through right now. These are the dark ages of Canada under Justin Trudeau.
And you know that we can't afford to go back. Unfortunately, that's what Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives are proposing.
Yeah.
And Mr. Poilievre likes to pretend he has the backs of workers, but I know you're not buying it. You know his record, and you know what he stands for. And more precisely, what he has stood for and stood against in all his 20 years as an MP.
Wait for it, it's coming.
Poilievre and his colleagues passed Bill 377, a law that piled on the red tape to stifle unions and bury them in bureaucracy.
Probably more about keeping unions honest, which most union members would agree with, because it's the union leadership that's corrupt at times.
And taking a page from the American far-right playbook, he's called for right-to-work laws. Laws which may have a nice-sounding name, but you know they actually do.
Yeah, it means
starve unions of the resources you need to deliver higher wages and better protections in the workplace.
Keep trying, Justin.
That's what Poilievre thinks of unions. That's what he thinks of you. Mais ça, c'est du passé. Il dit que maintenant, il est aux côtés des travailleurs. Il affirme d'être un homme transformé. Ben, OK, regardons les faits. Qu'il s'agisse de soins dentaires, de repas gratuits à l'école, de l'assurance médicaments ou des services de garde, il a voté contre chacun de ces programmes qu'on a mis en place pour aider les travailleurs à mieux s'en sortir. Et si jamais il prend le pouvoir, il va les éliminer. Pierre Poilievre used you for photo ops to pretend he's a friend to working people. But the truth is, he's a phony. He thinks you're all suckers.
He thinks you're all suckers. And Pierre Poilievre is the phony. This is the guy who has never been anything in his life except an actor. He's playing a role right now before the cameras. He's been playing the role of prime minister since 2015. And Pierre Poilievre is the phony. This is how a man like Trudeau projects everything that's wrong about himself onto other people. And that's exactly what he's doing here with Pierre Poilievre. Playing everybody for suckers because he's not buying into Justin Trudeau's agenda.
But above all, he's scared of you. Like every conservative before him, he's scared of what workers can accomplish when they organize.
We'll see in a minute just who Justin Trudeau is afraid of. It's Justin Trudeau who's afraid of workers, especially if they happen to be truckers. Remember that.
He's scared because when workers organize, they demand better. They push to make government work for working people. But most importantly, he's scared of you because he thrives on chaos, on despair, on division. And unions.
Who's the guy with the identity politics who thrives on division? Who has created chaos in this country more often than he's created any semblance of unity? Justin Trudeau. This is classic projection. I'm not a psychologist and I don't want to be, but any idiot, anybody with two wits to rub together, anybody with an ounce of perspicacity can tell you that this is a desperate man who's projecting his own failures on Pierre Poilievre. He's the one. This is the man who wants chaos. This is the man who's driven division.
Unions represent the opposite of that. You're organized, you're hopeful, and you're united in pursuit of one goal: to deliver real progress.
Okay, let's do a flashback here. Let's just see how much Justin Trudeau really cares about working people who organize. That's the key word. Remember, he's all for working people that organize. What happened when working people organized a freedom convoy to come to Ottawa to demand that COVID-19 mandates be stopped? That they didn't have to take the vaccine because Justin said so. What did he think about workers then?
Pushing ahead on national pharmacare. A lot of angry anti-vaxxers there, but there were also mingled in among them some supporters who were feeling perhaps beset, but brave enough to come out and stand beside screaming people who weren't wearing masks, or threatening all sorts of violence. And in that particular moment where I turned to look over the balcony, there was a group of young women, specifically racialized women.
What the hell are racialized women? I think Justin's sowing discord again. Justin's sowing division here. Talking about racialized women. It was okay to wave at the racialized women, but not the so-called anti-vaxxers in the crowd. Remember Justin Trudeau here? And he's just about to say, what will happen to you if you don't take that vaccine, which of course we all know was safe and effective.
Who were waving at me. And when I smiled and said, thank you for being there, and yes, greeted them, and they cheered and said, thank you, I was talking to them. And it is something that we have to reflect on, that even in Canada, where, yes, there are angry mobs who are threatening violence and hurling racist epithets.
There he goes again. And if you opposed his policy on COVID vax and the mandates, you were a mob and you were hurling racist epithets. No evidence at all for that, because the people who opposed the mandate, especially in the Freedom Convoy, were of all races and religions. I was there. I met them. I shook hands with them. I interviewed them. Justin didn't even leave his damn office to go outside and say hello. That's how aware he was of anything.
There are people coming out to stand beside them and say, we support you. Keep it up. We know vaccines are the way through this.
Hi, Mr. Trudeau. You just said that you can't let the, quote, anti-vaxxer mob dictate the future, and you also said that you can't back down. But security aside, do you not feel that your attendance at events like yesterday, where the protesters are largely not wearing masks, there's no social distancing, does that not pose a health risk to you, your security detail, and your supporters who were there? Some of them were young, unvaccinated children as well.
Young, unvaccinated children. Yep, get them all vaccinated. Remember how the national media parroted Justin Trudeau's talking points at every opportunity? These are supposed to be reporters asking critical questions. They're out there supporting everything Trudeau's doing, reinforcing the Liberal Party's policies, reinforcing the Trudeau government's dictates. You can do more to get these people, Justin Trudeau, than media says.
First of all, the idea that those anti-vaxxers were choosing not to wear masks for the protest, but were about to go home or to the grocery store or to their to visit their friends and wear masks is simply not true. I mean, they're going to be putting people at risk wherever they go, which is part of why we're going to make sure that people who choose not to get vaccinated don't get to get on a plane or a train, don't get to work in the public service, don't get to, by working with the provinces on vaccine certifications and mandates, don't get to go to movie theaters or gyms or restaurants and other non-essential services. That's how we keep people safe. And
that's how we keep people divided. This is Justin Trudeau dividing Canadians from each other. You don't have a right over your own body. You have no right to say, I choose not to take that vaccine. And you have to subscribe to all of this that he's saying right now. We all know how effective it was to wear that mask. This is pretty well common sense now. It's pretty well known by everybody that what he's saying here is highly suspect. It's probably all I can get away with saying. But he is the great divider.
And actually is part of the choice Canadians get to make in this election.
So that's the choice you have. Obey me, or you can't work, you can't travel, you can't go anywhere, you can't go to theaters, you can't go to restaurants, you can do nothing except stay at home and suffer. That is Justin Trudeau's idea of a choice.
And that's why it's so important to continue to stand strong and determined on moving forward in the right way. Erin O'Toole basically said that any of those anti-vaxxers who were protesting could be sitting across the aisle from your 12-year-old on a flight south in a few months.
Okay, and we all know that former Conservative Party leader Erin O'Toole was a lapdog to Justin Trudeau. He agreed with everything except one little point here about those people sitting across on the airplane. O'Toole had a bit of courage there, but Justin, that's not good enough, Aaron. No, you've got to go all 100% my way, or it's my way or the doorway with Justin Trudeau. Is he trying to create division or perhaps chaos by saying that? Here he is again, showing you how much he supports working class Canadians, ordinary Canadians. He hated them when they came out to protest his mandates. When they came out to protest his globalist agenda, nope, you're not welcome in Ottawa. Stay home. Don't come to Ottawa.
Underline that close to 90% of truckers in this country are vaccinated, like close to 90% of Canadians. Over the past many months and years now, Canadians have stepped up to protect each other, to protect our frontline workers, to protect our elders, to protect our young people, to protect people like truckers who are putting food on our grocery store shelves. Canadians have stepped up to do the right thing to protect the freedoms and the rights of Canadians to get.
Holy crap. How dare this man say that people following his whims and his will are somehow protecting democracy and freedom. We have lost more democracy and freedom in this country under Justin Trudeau than any other prime minister in the history of this country. But here he is dividing Canadians again. And just wait, it's coming.
Back to the things we love to do. We know the way through this pandemic is by getting everyone vaccinated.
Do you believe that?
The overwhelming majority, close to 90% of Canadians, have done exactly that. The small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views that they're expressing.
Sorry, unacceptable views because they're not my views. Sounds like he's dividing Canadians again.
Do not represent the views of Canadians who have been there for each other, who know that following the science and stepping up to protect each other is the best way to continue to ensure our freedoms, our rights, our values as a country. It's important.
So, unless you agree with Justin Trudeau, you're not supporting democracy or freedom. You're a fringe. You're not part of mainstream Canada. And I'm sorry, there is no other way to believe. You've got to accept Justin Trudeau's opinion or else you don't matter. And that's exactly why he's projecting all of this on Pierre Poilievre. Pierre Poilievre left the House of Commons when the Freedom Convoy was in town. I was there every day. It was cold. Pierre Poilievre left the House of Commons, left the warmth of the lobby where all the MPs hang out. I used to work there. Yes, they all hang out. They get their snacks and their free lunch. And it's a nice little area. He left that. He went down the street, down Wellington Street, to meet with the truckers and to say he supports you. I support you, he said. It took a lot of guts at the time because, believe me, the mainstream media had no time at all for the Freedom Convoy at the beginning. They were just a bunch of these rude ruffians. Truckers. Unvaccinated truckers. These were the dispossessed. These were people who were not real Canadians because they didn't support Justin Trudeau's views. And the media was in lockstep with Justin Trudeau, dividing Canada person from person. And that's what Justin Trudeau was all about then. That's what he's all about now, is dividing Canadians and creating chaos. It's not Poilievre creating the chaos. Justin Trudeau doesn't give a damn about working Canadians. Justin Trudeau doesn't give a damn about people who have to work hard to put food on the table. He's never had to do that. And he certainly hasn't done that as prime minister. Nobody has taken more time off from his job as a prime minister than Justin Trudeau has. Before I leave you, I want to show you this. People are not buying into Justin Trudeau's feudalism. You've had 9 years. Canadians are divided over Trudeau's plan for affordable housing on federal land. Feudalism. That's what it is. I mentioned this yesterday. And people are saying, holy Moses, you're telling me I'm never going to own the land my house is on. And it's leased to a developer who owns my property. Doesn't that sound like the company's store? This is the grapes of wrath. This is the very least, the grapes of wrath. John Steinbeck would be upset about this. But this is even worse. This is a return to feudalism, where your landlord is the developer who's leasing his land from the federal government. So people are not buying this. This is another piece of divisive legislation from Justin Trudeau. He's the guy creating chaos in this country. He's the guy that can't spend enough of your tax dollars on crazy schemes. And he has the nerve to say to these union members in Manitoba that, oh, we have been so careful with taxpayer dollars. We have been good stewards of taxpayer money. It's all fabricated. It's all an illusion. And Justin Trudeau, I keep saying his days are numbered. Because believe me, there is even enough common sense in that liberal caucus, that dunder-headed liberal caucus, to know that this man's days are over as a prime minister and as a leader of the Liberal Party. His days are finished. And when he can get up and spout this kind of nonsense without even getting red in the face, you know he is completely unrepentant about the disaster and the catastrophe he has created in this country after 9 years of infantile, complete lack of leadership ability. He has completely decimated and eviscerated Canadians in so many ways, but he continues to blame the opposition for that. It's not my fault. It's their fault. They've done it. Always pointing the finger. You know what they say, though? You point a finger at your opposition, and you got another finger pointing back at you. And that's Justin Trudeau's dilemma. You know, he's not stupid. He might be completely mendacious. He might have an inability to perceive reality, but ultimately, he's not that stupid that he can't see the writing on the wall. And I predict he's going to start to see that writing on the wall. I'm going to leave you with this great clip from my good friend, Eva Chippia, if I can find it here. Where are we? Eva. Here we go. Watch
When
this.
did you and your government start to become so afraid of your own citizens?
That's Eva, wonderful lawyer from Alberta who was representing the Freedom Convoy at the Emergencies Act inquiry almost 2 years ago now in November. I was there covering that every day. When did Justin Trudeau become afraid of Canadians? He's probably always been afraid of Canadians, and he always will be. But we don't have to be afraid of him. And that's my message today. Fear not, because we will overcome. Thank you for watching today.